Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Ozzy, this is Simmer Down South. Today we're going to be making a butternut squash and miso soup. If you don't know what miso is, it's a Japanese ingredient made from fermenting soybeans. It's very salty, very umami, and that's what we're going to be using to season our soup today. Squash is a bit out of season, but it's still definitely cold enough to enjoy a banging soup, so that's what we're going to do today. So the first thing we're going to do is peel and cut a butternut squash and carrots, toss them in a bit of olive oil, bang them in the oven at about 180 degrees for 20 to 25 minutes, just until they're nice and soft and caramelized. We're putting them in the oven so that we can get that nutty, caramelized, sweet flavor, as opposed to just boiling it in a pan where you won't get those flavors. So we're going to do that now. Make sure you scoop out all the insides. We only want the outer flesh. You can keep these seeds, toast them off in the oven and sprinkle them on top of anything like salads, even the soup that we're about to make if you like. No wastage. And then we're going to do the same to our carrots, but we're going to leave the skin on the carrots. And then we're going to transfer those to this bowl as well. Then what we're going to do is just give them a nice coating in olive oil. Get your hands in there, just make sure everything is nice and coated. And then we're going to pop this on some baking trays. Try and give them as much space as you can, because we want as much surface area caramelized as possible. And then we're going to put these in the oven at about between 180 and 200 degrees for 20 to 25 minutes, just until they're soft and nicely caramelized on the outside. Alright, now that our butternut squash and our carrot are nice and caramelized and cooked through and soft, I'm going to start the base for the soup and start building the flavors before this goes in. So I'm going to turn on my hob to about medium to low heat. I'm going to get a couple of glugs of olive oil in there, and I'm going to cut up my onion. When the oil's nice and hot, I'm going to put that in. I'm going to cook that down till it's nice and translucent. I'm going to add a tiny bit of salt just to the onions to help draw out the moisture. And that's about it, because we've got a lot of miso going in, which will give us that salty element. When the onions are softened and a bit caramelized, we're going to go in with our garlic and ginger paste. A teaspoon of that goes in. Alright, when that's cooked out a little bit, I'm going to add our dried rosemary and dried chili, about a teaspoon of each. It's just there for a tiny bit of heat. That goes in, give that a mix. Once you think all the rawness has been cooked out, you want to add in your roasted veg. And I'm going to hold back a little bit to put in the soup later, because I want some chunky bits in there. I'm going to add a few cracks of black pepper. It's alright if it starts breaking up a bit. We want everything to mix together, and we're gonna blend it anyway, so it's fine if it breaks up. We're gonna add our stock cube, just crumble it up and mix it in. Make sure that's fully incorporated. And then I want to top it up with water to just below the top of where all the vegetables are, if you can see what I mean. Right, at this point where it's simmered for about 10 minutes, all the flavors have got to know each other, it's reduced a tiny bit. We're gonna add about 3/4 of a can of coconut milk. It's gonna bring an extra sweetness and an extra flavor, and it's also gonna give it a richness. Give that a stir. Alright, now that's all mixed in, I'm gonna turn this off, take it off the heat. And then we're going to get our immersion blender, and we're just going to We're gonna blend it, but not till it's completely smooth. We want a few chunks and a tiny bit of texture in there. We're not trying to make baby food. And it's now at this point that we're gonna get our miso and add that. The reason we're adding it after it's come off is because if you add miso to something that's too hot, like boiling liquid, it will boil off any of the good like probiotics, bacteria that was made during the fermentation process, and we want to keep that all in here. So we're going to do that off the heat, and we've got maybe a tablespoon and a half, and we're going to start with that, and if we think it can do with a bit more salt or seasoning, then we'll add some more. Right, have a taste. Yeah, I think we're all right for seasoning on that. And then for plating, all we're gonna do is get a bowl, get a nice few ladles of the soup, and then get the vegetables that we roasted earlier and kept to the side. Spring onion. And then we're gonna get a couple of slices, some nice bread, toast those, and we take our toast. Then we get our miso chili butter that we made earlier, which was just half a stick of butter, a teaspoon of miso, and maybe a teaspoon of chili flakes. And then we whip that to get some air into it, and just gonna spread that. Smash that in there, and we're done. Right, that's my butternut and miso soup. Hope you enjoyed that. I'm gonna be making a video on how you can use the leftovers from this to make something else. So stay tuned for that video, and thanks to everyone who watched the previous video and subscribed and everything. Like, it means a lot to start this and have people that are watching and engaged. So thanks for that again, and I'll let you all know when the next one's out in a bit. It's good.